The character of Black Bolt is fascinating and really smartly drawn because he's a king who, because of his power or affliction, he literally cannot use his voice because he's aware of the danger of his own authority. And I think that it's such a smartly drawn character because of that. I think people have an immediate affinity for him. Inhumans are a race of beings that have the genetic marker that when they go through a certain process they call pterogenesis, it allows them to develop a certain ability that is unique only to them. I don't think that Black Bolt loves his brother despite his brother's nature. I think he sees his brother's nature as truly useful. You know, Karnak is his chief advisor, but I think that he likes having Maximus around, who's so good at playing the counterpoint. He sees those as two poles of influence that he can use. He likes being questioned. I think a good leader does. Madusa first came into Black Bolt's life very early when he was locked away because of the power of his voice. He had no translator, and she became that for him. But as their relationship developed, she's not just a translator of his voice, she's a translator of a man who is maybe a little bit too locked away emotionally. She's phenomenally patient with him, and I think that's what he loves about her. You're talking to a Marvel kid. Like, I grew up subscribing to Peter Parker and looking forward to every issue in my mailbox. I would write letters to Marvel Comics with character ideas. I'm not kidding you. And I even got one letter back from, I still have it somewhere, thanking me for my ideas, but saying, not right now. I was probably 9 or 10. I was immediately interested when I heard the name Black Bolt because, for a number of reasons. Number one, I love the character. It's one of the most beloved characters in Marvel. But also the challenge of playing what's ostensibly the lead of a show and not being able to speak, that just, I mean, that got me right there. I like challenges. I try not to do jobs where I'm going to be bored. And this is not boring. You know, I'm working on creating a glossary of gestural words and phrases most days. Because he's not going to speak American Sign Language, and I've really enjoyed the technical aspect of working with my signing consultant and trying to build a language. One of the things of production quality that people don't consider is the hospitality of the place where they shoot. And I was having this conversation. One of our background artists turned out to be from Atlanta. I'm from Tennessee, and we were talking about how the hospitality of Hawaii reminds us very much of home. And you just can't put a price tag on local business owners saying, yeah, come use our facilities, or how can we help you, or just generally being excited that you're there. Sometimes in places like Los Angeles, New York, Vancouver, people are they're over it, they're done. They've seen it, they've been there, but the people of Hawaii, they're genuinely appreciative that there is some industry, I think, other than tourism going on. It's a completely different medium. The comics, it strives to be as visual as possible, but it's, some people would see that as a limitation and really need to see it in live action, but really it demands that the reader bring a certain action between the cells and do it themselves. It's a hotter medium than film and TV, where everything's sort of done for them. Our director Rowell was talking about, he's also a music composer, and he likes music because he says it's really the one medium that demands, it brings with it the mood and the way in which the listener encounters the work. It sort of demands the experience a little bit more. But I think television has the power to do that as well. And I think that where we make mistakes is if we try to do too much for the audience. I think we need to just almost connect those dots and trust the audience be able to make the leap themselves sometimes, just like those cells in the comic books demand an imagination to connect them.
The Inhumans are a race of superhumans which originated on Earth and are a result of genetic testing that went on by the Kree many years ago. And they left Earth a long, long time ago and moved to the moon, where they've been residing at this city, Atalan, and they're led by Black Bolt, who is our king. The society is kind of separated into an almost caste system, where at a certain point of their lives, around 15, the Inhumans go through the pterogenesis process, which is kind of their coming of age. It's different as Maximus, who doesn't have a power because his pterogenesis basically turned his Inhuman gene into a human gene and turned him into a human, basically. So in theory, he would have been sent down to the mines, but because he was the brother of the king, it meant he was allowed to stay above and be part of the royal family. He's very sort of charming, but he's very passionate about his politics, and he genuinely wants to change the world, and he wants to help the people who are shoved down in the mines because of their pterogenesis, and he feels for them, and I guess that comes from the fact that he himself has become a lower class citizen because of his own pterogenesis, but he's just fortunate that he was the brother of the king, therefore he didn't end up in the mines. So I think you've got all that conflicting things going on, and how he would very much like to be king, and I think he believes, and he might be right, that he would be a better king than Black Bolt. Never work with children and animals, and large teleporting dogs called Lockjaw. I mean, it's very interesting. He's the real star of the show, let's put it like that. It brings a sort of different lease of life working in Hawaii. It's such a different place to anywhere I've ever been before, the island lifestyle. And I think, yeah, and I mean, working here, we're working in essentially it was a plane manufacturing factory or something, and so it's this huge space, this huge warehouse basically, which they've built all the sets in, so you can actually move in between the sets, which is pretty cool. So that always really helps, and so you feel like we've created our own little world in this hangar, which is crazy, but yeah, it's really cool.
It starts off with our average Inhuman family with all of our superpowers living on the moon in Adelan. And you can start to see at the beginning that there's a bit of conflict, obviously, between Maximus and Black Bolt, as every good story does. And there's disagreement on how Adelan should be ruled and the caste systems and what goes on. And I think that friction comes from when they were younger, too. They're two brothers, right? And one wanted the responsibility and one doesn't. One got everything, one got nothing. Literally, Maximus is turned into a human. So he's not even part of the Inhumans anymore. And so you see that. You see the battle between the two of them. And slowly Maximus starts to put things together and get some power and get some momentum against Black Bolt. And that's sort of where we are, is there's a bit of pre-planning happening that gets revealed on what he's doing, but Maximus is definitely going behind the Royals family and planning some things that we don't appreciate. Right after I got the role, my phone rang, and it was Jeff. And I'd been crying, because as soon as I got the role, I walked into my house, and I was like, my mom was visiting, because if I got the role, I had to leave the next day. And I walked in and looked at my mom, and I was like, I got it. Like, I got it, and just started crying. And I was like trying to pull it together, and my phone's ringing, and I look down, and it says Jeff's below, but I'm like, okay. I'm like, hello? Like trying to be all put together. And he goes, Serinda. And I go, hi, Jeff. And he goes, I have 3 words for you. And I was like, okay. And he goes, welcome to Marvel. And I just lost it. I was like the fact that you call, the fact that you make that, and the fact that that means so much to me,
I'm so excited to be on this production. So excited.
Absolutely incredible. It's not often that you get to work with such visionaries, and Jeff has just been one of the most supportive people I've ever worked with from day one. From before I even had the job, he was on a Skype call with me talking about the character and asking me questions and getting to know me, which isn't usually a process. It's usually, how do we get her to be this? Not who are you and how do we put them together? The audition process or the testing process was him and I talking on camera. And the support that you feel as an actor was really profound. Like when I got it and they brought me into this room where it has a big Marvel banner and like other Marvel memorabilia and casts and things, and it says Marvel and it said Inhumans, and there was Anson's photograph and my photograph underneath as like cast, and I just started to like tear up. Like the kindness is just incredible, and I was like, you have no idea how much this means to me. And he was like, no, I do. Like, I do. And I was like, okay, because it's scary. Like I've said this before, it's scary to say how badly you want something, and I really wanted to be a part of this project. To be a part of this and sitting on this set and seeing like how grandiose everything is, but still grounded, I can't wait. Like I'm kind of like bugging out. I'm fanning out a little bit too.
There's a lot of respect there. You know, to me, I would consider him more of like my right-hand man in regards to what he would want. Even though he doesn't speak, he has a lot of presence and command just with his body language and his actions. And as king, I trust him. And, you know, especially getting in the position that I am, it's like my whole thing is protection and protecting him, and not only him, but everybody else. You know, getting the call and hearing, hey, Emmy, you know, welcome to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. For me, it was probably one of the most beautiful moments for me, because, I don't know, it's just when you kind of have pointed out ever since from a kid and why you were doing this, when you were playing as a kid, being a superhero, and especially my character, it's kind of surreal. It's beautiful because it's a family going through this drama, and it's going through this conflict throughout the story. So I think to me, I like it because it's dealing with family aspects that we haven't dealt with really in the Marvel universe. So being a part of that again I think it's a really cool thing. They're dealing with actual human emotions. They're dealing with humanistic stories and connecting. And I think at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want to feel that even though these people are Inhumans, it's like, well, I actually connect with them. I have a huge thing that's just like, you know, everybody has their cape. You know what I mean? Mine might be a hoof. Someone's might be some leather jacket that they walk around that makes them feel invincible. But at the end of the day, under all of that, there's a human under that. And I think realizing that with this story, we have that, but underneath it, you have grounded individuals. It's like, I actually connect with that person. He might have hoofs, or someone might be like, hey, I might have this certain disability, but that's not gonna stop me. I could still move forward, I could still fight for what I believe in. And I think that's, to me, what will connect an audience, is that they can connect with people with superpowers, but realize, hey, I could have superpowers myself and I could still be struggling with the same stuff that they're struggling with day in and day out. They're exciting. Let's just say that, they're exciting. It's a process putting them in, and, you know, let's just say I have a lot of sympathy for women now with high heels and different stuff like that. It's great.
I played Crystal, who is the youngest member of the royal family, Madusa's younger sister. They live on the moon in Adelan and also on Earth during this series. And Crystal's the youngest member of the family. She's very independent, and her family really means a lot to her. What is really nice about Marvel's Inhumans is that we're all real people with real emotions, and we do have special gifts, but it's very relatable and very realistic. And it gives people something, you know, I love Crystal and the other Marvel characters because, you know, they're aspirational, and it gives the viewers a sense of they're still real people, but they have these unique qualities. Crystal does have a very large dog, and he's a 2,000 pound dog, and it's really fun to work with him, but he is all CGI, so I just like talk to the air a lot. So it's quite fun, and he can transport people. There's so many different storylines, and there's so much exciting stuff going on in each episode that once one finishes, you're ready for the next. So I think the audience is going to love that, and the fans are going to love to see what we've done and to see this on the big screen. I think it's really cool. It's quite special because we do have special powers, and we live in a place that's quite bizarre, like the moon. But we are still just a family, and we are still all connected, and just our way of life is different.
There's an ease with Black Bolt in Karnak that I don't see, that maybe doesn't exist anywhere else. There's a trust. Karnak feels at liberty to sometimes speak casually. Sometimes he regrets it quickly afterwards, but there's an ease between them. And that plays into him being, you know, Black Bolt's chief advisor and strategist, and just, you know, trusted member of the royal family. Maximus seems to present problems. He's unhappy. He has certain ideas about what we should do, ideas that are maybe born out of his ambition and not so much for the good of all. There's a superficial change where I look very different than I do. Karnak had a tattoo put on his face when he was a teenager. So I have facial tattoos. I've shaved my eyebrows to accommodate the facial tattoos. I've buzzed my hair to go along this kind of severe look that he has.
I play Louise, and I work at an aerospace company, and I'm obsessed with all things lunar and space, and I'm a very focused, intelligent, driven individual who takes her job very seriously, but I also have kind of awkward social skills. So when we first meet Louise, we'll be seeing her going on this adventure to Hawaii to kind of figure out maybe who these people from the moon are. Being a part of Marvel, I remember when Jeff Loeb called me to say that congratulations. He said, welcome to the Marvel family, and it was, it's a really cool feeling. It's as an actor to be a part of something like this is amazing. It's very identifiable, and so I think people are going to, whether it's within the family dynamics or just another character that you relate to, they're very relatable characters, and I think that. That, and then visually, I think there's a lot to want to tune into. Filming in Hawaii, I think, was really important and crucial. I mean, the landscape here and the geography is just breathtaking and stunning. So it's not something that we could recreate anywhere else. So it was really important, especially with exteriors or aerial shots, having the dramatic landscape on such a visually dramatic show is crucial.
I did a lot. They told me not to read the comic books, but I had to. It was so fun, and I have almost read all of the Inhumans series. I am a Marvel Universe member, and online it's so much easier to just like read the I'm like click, click. I want to read the next one. So that's really fun. But right when I booked it, my husband's my #1 fanboy went to the comic book store and bought like all the latest ones with my character on it and already framed them. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like, it was really cool. It was fun to speak to Scott, and he kind of pulled each of us aside and told us the ins and outs of our character and what other characters shouldn't know about us, and kind of a little bit of mysterious plot points that other people don't need to know at this time. So it's fun. It's fun to have like that mystery, and I know things that other characters and actors don't know. So I love that they keep things mysterious like that for us. It's really funny working with Lockjaw because he's huge. Like, I have a small Jack Russell Terrier, so this is just like a 2,000-pound dog. And, we use a blue screen Stuffy, we call him. But it's great, he doesn't shed, he doesn't poop. It's pretty easy to work with. The sets are like one of my favorite parts of the show too. When I saw the quiet room, I was blown away. Like, when I read the script, it says the quiet room, and I'm like thinking of like a little closet, but thank God I'm not the set designer, because their vision is out of this world, and it really transports you to the moon and Adelan and everywhere.
The Inhuman royal family is kind of like the British royal family. Everybody's got their role, and for me, Triton, I'm Black Bolt's most trusted. I'm the guy he'll send on secret missions, so I'm kind of like the super spy. And I'm willing to do anything for my family members. I'm super loyal to Black Bolt, and I'd like to think I'm really cool under pressure and I can handle anything that's given to me. I think Triton had the most drastic visual change in terms of aesthetic that out of the whole royal family. So I think that kind of brings a uniqueness to Triton, the fact that he looks the least human out of the Inhuman family, and the fact that I live underwater, or I have the ability to live underwater, but I'm on the moon. I kind of literally am a fish out of water in Adelan. We operate like any family does. Obviously, there's definitely some feuds. Thanksgivings are very, very awkward sometimes. Obviously, we've got our own family tree, so we're all related. We all look different. It's very much like what America looks like today. When you come to set as an actor, we all have great relationships already. We're already like a family, but Emmy and I, we were the first ones to kind of get to know each other. So I have a cool bond with him, and I've always wanted to work with Leung, so it's a dream come true to work with such talented people. Lockjaw, I think he's one of like the most beloved pets in all of the Marvel universe, and he's playful, he's huge, and he likes to sit on my lap. And good thing I have superhuman strength, so I can pick him back up. As an actor, you dream of getting certain things and having a trajectory for your career. And for me to play a Marvel superhero is literally a dream come true. And it's been such a great experience. And reading the script, it's just like, as a fan, you're like, what happens next? But then as an actor, it's like, well, what do I have to start preparing for? So mixing those two is super cool. It's super gratifying to just see how the show is going to come out.
We focus on a family who happens to live on the dark side of the moon. These are our Inhumans. A coup ensues. Our family are forced to flee to Earth. They're refugees on this very alien planet. And on top of that, they are all separated. They cannot, their first task is to try to find each other. But in the course of this season, they will come to learn and understand things from Earth culture that will greatly inform their beliefs up in Adelan. The central conflict of our show is our family who has had everything taken away from them and are forced to re-examine exactly why this belongs to them to begin with. They have to look at the whole system of life and try to struggle and come to terms with whether this is really worth fighting for or not. And if so, what is it going to mean going into the future? It's a family who has to really take a step back and look at the way they have lived their lives, the way they have governed their people, and try to decide, is this what's really best for everyone, or is this just simply what's best for us? The approach for me for these characters is to think of them as people first, and the superpowers come second. It's only one aspect of their personality and not something that necessarily defines them. So my approach was totally through character. Who is this person? What is his role? What is it he wants? What does she want? What is she thinking? You know, it's just a matter of creating any kind of character when you're launching a new project like this. You know, there's obviously a bit of backstory for each of them that comes from the comic books that I was able to mine as much as possible. You know, which gave me a great starting off point, because these are characters with a long history, and it's fun to bring as much of that to the screen as possible. I think this will make a great drama because it's a very simple story at heart that focuses on a family under crisis. Everything they've ever known, everything they've ever cared about, everything they've ever loved has been taken away from them, and they are forced to flee to this very alien planet called Earth. The Inhumans live in Adelan, which is on the dark side of the moon, and it's actually a very small town of about 1,400 people. In order to stay hidden from Earth people, they have built sort of an invisible cloaking dome that covers the city, and which means they have no room to expand, no room to go up, no room to go to the side, so they have no other option but to go down deeper and deeper into the moon. And it's a place that's becoming increasingly crowded and difficult to live in. But for many, for Black Bolt, it's paradise. For others, not necessarily so.
There is a royal family that has existed for a great deal of time. There's a schism within that family, and because of that, there is a royal coup. The family then goes on the run, in exile, mostly to protect their own people and to protect themselves. They're separated. They happen to have landed on this beautiful island of Hawaii, specifically on Oahu. But the journey is for them to be able to get back together again and then decide what they're going to do about whether or not they can retake their homeland. And once they do, what happens to the people and what happens to the culture that they've been living in. Marvel Television has been involved in a lot of huge adventures, stories that I think have touched people, which is really what's important to us. It isn't just, as we like to say, the biff bam boom of it all. What we like to do is to tell stories that touch people emotionally, and that we feel that now is the time, particularly with what's going on in our world, to be able to tell a story about how, whether it is that you're inhuman or whether it is that you're human, this is the time now for us to be able to look and say, actually, we all share one Earth. And if that's what we're going to be able to do, we're going to have to figure out a way to communicate with each other. We think that this is a story that touches each of us personally, because at the end of the day, this is the first time that Marvel's done a family show. This is a story, they may be royals, they may be living in a different world than all of us live in, meaning they're the king and the queen, but what we're going to find out is that being the king and the queen is not so different than all of us that just have regular day-to-day jobs. That the relationship between the sisters is something which is rife with conflict, but also at the same time great love. The cousins that are in the family are not necessarily always welcome in every conversation. And in its heart, the conflict between the two brothers, one who believes strongly in being able to protect the family, and one who believes that they need to move forward into the future, we think is something that people, it doesn't matter who you are in life, can empathize with, can see something of themselves in there. And so we're hoping that they're going to get caught up in the drama, because what they do is they look at it and go, this is what's happening in my family. This is what's happening with my dad. This is what's happening with my sister. And so being able to come into that story and know that it's not just a story of a people that have powers and abilities who are then lost on an island and hopefully being able to get back, what they're going to be able to do is actually empathize with those people and feel like, what would I do in that situation, and get caught up in that way. We have a very special relationship with our friends at ABC. We were lucky enough to have our first Marvel television series, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., on ABC. They're terrific partners. They understand what our content's about. They're marketing. They're getting behind the show. And to be perfectly honest, when we came to them with this idea of being in IMAX and being in Marvel and being in ABC, that's about all we needed to say. They were on board, and we hope that you're going to be on board this fall, 2017, on ABC.
Basically, we're going to see a little bit about the Inhumans, how they live in their city, on their secret place, and how the intrigues and the problems start in this town. And we see how different characters are thinking differently about what they should do with the Inhumans population and what they should do with Inhumans that are discovered on Earth. And there is this big struggle, there's this big coup, and that makes some of our human characters to disappear and to transform to Earth. And there they have to figure out a way to live and interact with humans to come back to the Inhumans' Adelan world. So it's a discovery for these characters to discover Earth and to discover the normal world, and for us as humans to discover the Marvel Inhuman species. So it's a very emotional journey with some very strong characters, and it's a fascinating story. As a comic book lover, you know about the Inhumans character. They appear in comic books for the years now, and you know about the Kree and about all the history. And I'm not a really big buzz because I did not write it, but I was really intrigued by it. So when I came to this project, I also felt a responsibility to make it right, to make it fit in the real historical context of the Marvel universe. The Marvel franchise is one of the strongest franchises, I think, in the world. You know, I love the movies, I love the characters, I'm a big comic book lover. So when I heard that they are putting this legendary story of the Inhumans on a screen, I was like very excited. I never could imagine that I would be chosen to direct it for them. The biggest star of the Marvel Inhumans franchise is going to be Lockjaw. You know, he's like a dog that acts as a dog. He's a real dog, but he's massive. You know, he's as big as a car. And from the first day on, when I saw the comic books and that we know we want to put this character in our series, I really fought for the best house that could do the CG work for it, because it would be a full CG character. But then we call him Stuffy, we created this blue dog cut out of foam, and we put it on the set every day when we do these scenes, so everybody can see how high it is, how big it is. We move it around the set so all the actors and all the camera operators know where to frame. And then when I see the test coming from the CG house, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. Hawaii is a beautiful location to shoot. You know, anywhere you watch, you have the jungles, you have the beaches, the oceans, you have the city, and we are using every inch of it. You know, I remember the day that we went to the jungle and that we were with Triton and with all the other characters in this jungle, and you feel the jungle, you smell the jungle, because it's a real thing. And then another day you're on the beach with surfers on the ocean. You look down in the water and you see the fish swimming above the coral. It's an amazing experience, and I really loved shooting here.